You're listening to CreepGeeks Podcast. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/CheapGeek. So it begins again. Welcome back to CreepGeeks Podcast. This is episode number 143.
Flatwoods monster encounter in New Mexico, Bigfoot in North Carolina, and Cryptid Con review and overview.
Yeah.
Load that.
Yeah. What?
So here we are. Welcome to the CreepGeeks Podcast. If it's your very first time tuning into the podcast, we're glad to have you here. And if you've been a repeat offender, it's good to see you. Yeah. So anyway, welcome back to the podcast, or welcome to the podcast. But either way, we have lots of fun stuff to talk about today, because this podcast is about what?
Well, the CreepGeeks Podcast is an offbeat news podcast that takes a lighthearted approach to the paranormal, cryptid, strange, the silly, and trending tech topics circulating the web. Broadcasting paranormal news and fun stories from our underground bunker in the mountains of western North Carolina.
Yes, so welcome to the podcast. My name is Greg.
I'm Omi.
And we are your host for this next hour and however long it is, because it kind of varies. Anyway, welcome to the podcast. We do appreciate you stopping by and listening. Got a lot of stuff, like a lot of good stuff to talk about, including something that we think we might be on to something, as long as we think we might be having a scoop.
Ooh.
Yeah, or not. But either way, it's good to see you. Now, before we get started, let's all take a second and appreciate the fact that summer is almost done.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's hot.
It is.
Dog days of summer. So anyway, fall is coming, and I enjoy fall. Fall is good. It's like, jacket weather. Light jacket. Get out there.
Better hiking.
Yep.
The leaves change.
Yes, it's very, very nice. So anyway, it's going to be pretty good. So before we get started with the podcast, there's a couple things we need to do. We need to do a little housekeeping, if you will, a little admin to kind of tell you how you can support the podcast. Podcast is pretty easy to support. A couple different ways you can do it. You can support the podcast by listening to us, which is very, very nice. You can do a little thumbs up, and subscribe and like, yes. You can also subscribe to the podcast and share it with your friends.
Yeah.
It's very, very nice. You can also go on our Facebook page, which is CreepGeeks Podcast, and interact with everybody there. Sharing like stories and like the memes and things like that, which is very, very nice. And there's a couple different other ways that you can support the podcast. You can go to our website,
CreepGeeks.com,
and support us there. We have a little contact form if you'd like to share maybe a story or experience, would be very, very nice.
Or a lead.
Or a lead, yeah. Or something you'd like us to talk about. That's pretty cool. If you're bolder than that, you can use our phone number.
That phone number is 575-208-4025.
And you can leave us a message there and share a story or something like that. That would be pretty interesting. That'd be very, very, very nice.
And if you need to remain anonymous, just let us know.
Yes.
Yes.
And also you can support the podcast in a completely passive way. And I just realized once I said this, really not completely passive, but let me explain. Okay, so if you go to Amazon.com, the place where you can buy everything and anything and have it delivered to your house in 2 days if you're Amazon Prime, you can support us the easy way. What you do is you click our link and you go buy whatever you want. We get a small percentage. Won't cost you anything. Doesn't change your price at all. And it helps us to keep gas flowing and coffee in our Albino Rhino. Our adventure mobile, investigation machine, camper van. Because we use that. It's our car. We drive around. We have a bed in the back. We go investigate stuff. Yeah. And you can help us, and it'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we do have a link for that.
And that link is amazon.com/shop/CheapGeek.
Yes. And all the links that we talk about and all the stories that we talk about in our podcast, all the links and information that we talk about, it's all on our website.
Yes.
We call them show notes, and you can click stuff and look at stuff, and you can do whatever you want.
Okay.
It's America. You can do whatever you want. Right?
Yes.
But no, we do try to put the show notes in there so that if you want to click a link or follow up on something or whatever, man, at least you'll have what we talk about right there. So you can kind of take a look and see. Choice is yours. Yeah. We do recommend you do kind of take a look at the Facebook group.
CreepGeeks Facebook.
Because there's lots of stuff that happen there. And it's pretty active. People share memes and funny stories and things like that. It's pretty good. So, yes. And like everything we do on the podcast, we try to keep it family friendly.
For the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's what we do. Also, what we do is we like to start the podcast with something that we call Interesting Random Factoid, where we pick a couple interesting random things to talk about before we get into the meat and potatoes of the podcast.
All right.
Where did that come from, meat and potatoes?
Probably Ireland.
I don't think so. That's almost borderline racist or something. I don't know what that is exactly. We'll figure it out. Anyway. Okay, so this first Interesting Random Factoid, and this time there are two Interesting Random Factoids. Right, I kind of threw in there, excuse me, because I read it and I had to read it a couple different times. Okay, so here's the first one. No word in the English language rhymes with month, orange, silver, or purple. Month, orange, silver, or purple.
I'm sitting here trying to think of.
That's why I had to read a couple times.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find words that rhyme with month, orange, silver, and purple, and I could not find any. The only thing I found for purple was nurple, but that's not even a real word, so you can't use purple nurple. Doesn't exist. So after spending a lot of time, about 42 seconds on this, I moved on. Well, I thought about it. I'm like, oh, okay, that's true. So here's the second interesting random factoid. Also has to do with the English language. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Go is the shortest complete sentence in the English language. In the English language. So, go. It's a statement all unto itself.
Okay, I can see that.
It's a short sentence.
Yeah. There's other short sentences.
It's like, what do you want me to do? Go. Done. Right? I like it. It's succinct.
Done is also. No.
Yeah. Done. But it doesn't work that way. Yeah. Go is different. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, there you go. Those are two interesting random factoids we give to you for you to think about later.
Because we're givers.
That's right. Mm-hmm. So right before you go to sleep tonight, try to rhyme with silver.
That's exactly what I'm doing in the back of my head right now.
That's what everybody's doing. So speaking of doing, this weekend we got something big coming up. It's a fun time for all to be had if you go. If you're somewhere around the western North Carolina area, more specifically Marion, North Carolina, there's a Bigfoot festival.
Yes.
It's called the
second annual Western North Carolina Bigfoot Festival.
Yes.
That happens September 14th in Marion, North
September
Carolina.
14th.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we've put links in the show notes for the event. The first link will tell you all about the festival as well as some of the things that are happening. I believe the Traveling Bigfoot Museum will be there as well as Cliff Barackman.
Yeah.
And there's two Bigfoot movies that are playing at the local movie theater.
Yes.
This has been an unprecedented event. The previous one, I guess last year's event, had thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah. Some people say 75,000 people.
No, last year was about 30, according to the reports.
Yeah. So anyway, it was pretty big.
It's going to be more. And
bunch of vendors.
Yeah.
Over 150.
Yeah, 170 was the last count.
Yeah. So it's going to be a pretty big time. So you should go check it out. The cost is free, as far as I know. You can go. You don't have to pay to get in. If it's a special talk or something like that, there may be a cost involved with that.
Yeah.
But other than that, you can show up.
Yeah. Oh,
and from what I understand, if you can't find parking or whatever, they have designated areas, and I think there's supposed to be a shuttle. It's like they went all out.
Yeah.
To make sure that you can have a good time.
They have a race in the morning, too. So
yeah, it's a 5K race.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
I think there's 400 people sign up to run at this thing.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I believe it is from 10 to 4 on that Saturday, so you should go. So if you're anywhere in the western North Carolina area, actually if you're from Hickory all the way to Asheville and beyond, it might be worth kind of driving on down. If you're going to show, I would show up early.
Oh, the race starts at 8. So
the race starts at 8.
Yeah.
That's just torturous right
Which
there.
Which is probably, yeah.
It's probably good. Get it up, get it out of the way. It's still, I mean, it really, while it's still cool.
Yeah.
Because even though summer is ending,
It is hot.
It's still hot as fire.
Yeah.
It's a hot, sweaty fire.
And
a hot, sweaty dumpster fire.
Oh, stop. Now, just in time for the WNC Bigfoot Festival, the mayor of Marion, North Carolina, has proclaimed Bigfoot the official animal of Marion, North Carolina.
Neat.
And we've put a link to the mayor's official proclamation in the show notes, and it goes into the history of Bigfoot as well as the festival here in North Carolina.
Very nice.
Yeah, now, this may sound a little familiar from us, but that's because Whitehall, New York, and one other town in the United States also claim Bigfoot as their official animal as well.
But how could that be? Could it be because Bigfoot has been sighted in 49 different states?
Yes, that's true.
Very nice.
But it's like with Whitehall, I was like, you'd never think Whitehall, New York, but they have a pretty big...
I thought they had a Whitehall monster out there or something like that. It was like,
yeah,
just like a dog man.
Which is what we found out as we did that podcast earlier this year, you know?
So there you go. So if you're looking for something to do and you're in Western North Carolina or in North Carolina relatively close to this particular area and you want to show up, you should. We'll be there.
Yes.
Because we decided, hey, let's go stand in the heat under a little tarp thingy and talk about our podcast to people that may or may not care about it.
Or may not even know what a podcast is.
Yeah. And while we're there, let's bring swag to give away and some small items to possibly vend at this event.
Yes.
So if you happen to be there and you see us in our little podcast booth looking all sweaty, come say hello.
Yes.
Yes, we may have a treat for you.
If you listen to the podcast.
Or we may not.
Yeah.
I mean, how are we supposed to know people listen to the podcast or not?
Secret word.
Also going to say is, hey, we listen to the podcast. And we're going to go, ooh, that's great. Here you go. Here's something.
Maybe we give them a secret word or something.
Okay. You know what? I'm not doing that.
Okay.
Because then, you know what's going to happen? We're going to have to get up early. We typically stay up late anyway.
Yeah.
We're going to have to get up about the time that we go to bed to go to this thing and get all set up and everything. And I'm going to forget what that stupid word is. You could say anything you want. I'm like, that sounds good. Here you go. So the secret word is Monongahela.
What?
That's right. Remember that, suckers. But no, you should come by and see us. Say hello.
We are.
If you have anything you'd like to share, like a story or whatever, hey, you should share with us. We'll be right there.
Yep.
We're going to have a little recording device set up. Maybe a little microphone on a stick, like a recorder, and you can record your story if you want. Or I'll forget it at home, and we won't have that. You never know. I'm just saying, sometimes these things are a crapshoot.
And we're going to have a couple of interesting small things to vend.
Yes.
Like stickers.
Don't tell everybody what we got. It's a secret. So come see us. So anyway, okay.
We're going to have good stuff.
Yes, we always have good stuff. No, it'll be good. It should be a fun time. So you should come down again. If you see us, say hello. And, hey, why not, right? Support the people that are standing out there sweating. Yeah. As I'm saying that, I'm sitting there trying to figure out how we're going to make a fan happen on the street, aside from using solar and all that jazz.
Don't we have that fan with like a battery?
Yeah, but the battery doesn't last very long.
Oh.
But I got a big old car battery.
Just drop a car battery in the middle of the
Heck yeah. See, because not only are we Creep Geeks, where we talk about weird, paranormal, and interesting type news, we also are part-time paranormal investigators and cryptid investigators, and we have an alter ego?
Yes.
Called Cheap Geek, where I do stuff cheap. And so I do have a car battery / battery pack that will power that fan for about 150 hours. So, and the cool thing is the battery only weighs like 85 pounds. So yeah, it's portable. As we take it from your car, the Omi Adventure Mobile.
That's not what it is at all.
It's a Trailblazer, and we're calling it the Omi Adventure Blazer
No, we're
Mobile.
not.
Yes, it is. It is the investigatory adventure trailer. What do we want to call it? Trailblazer Adventure Mobile.
We're just calling it the Trailblazer. Yes.
Adventure Mobile. Hashtag, if you want to do that. But no, anyway, you should come down and see what's going on. Enjoy the festivities. Come by and say hello. We'll be there. There's supposed to be lots of good stuff to eat. Hopefully they got funnel cakes.
They're supposed to have a bunch of food trucks.
Bunch of food. Like maybe they'll have a hot dog on a stick. That'd be great.
That would have been the good secret word.
Yeah. What, hot dog on a stick?
Yes.
You mean corn dog? It's like the secret word is hot dog on a stick. And they're like, well, here, and if you walk up and say corn dog, say, that's not it, man. Try it again. So
What was it again?
No, Monongahela. Yeah. So if you know what Monongahela is and can spell it correctly, leave us a comment. So, yeah.
And I do want to mention the Creep Geeks podcast. We're going to be there. Bigfoot's not the only cryptid we'll have at our booth.
Yeah. So, anyway, you're listening to the Creep Geeks Podcast. We're going to take a second and play some wonderful news and stuff like that. And we'll be right back, all right? So don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we're going to talk about these hunters that went to a place in Santa Fe County, right, and had an experience, and we think that experience is related to a previous earlier experience, and we'd like to talk about it in great and agonizing detail. So you're listening to Creep Geeks Podcast, and we'll be right back.
A podcast about curses, hexes, and maledictions. Cursed examines some of the most bizarre and mysterious events that have been documented throughout history. Whether it's regarding tales of voodoo, black magic, or simply a series of unfortunate events, I'll be telling you all kinds of strange tales. 3 episodes are readily available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, and other popular apps. These episodes cover tales and stories from Manchac Swamp, the alleged curse of Ötzi the Iceman, and a story involving the Australian international soccer team and a scorned witch doctor. You can find out more about the show by visiting curse.com. That's C-V like voodoo, RSED.com. You can also follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Cursed Podcast. Again, that's C-V like voodoo, RSED Podcast. Hope to see you around. Thanks for listening.
Hey Creep Geeks fans, this is Toby Harford of Afterlife Paranormal. Join us October 5th for Carolina Paracon at the beautiful Saluda Shoals Park in Columbia, South Carolina. We have ghost hunting teams, cryptozoologists, and alien contactees, including Katie Stafford from Travel Channel's Ghosts of Morgan City, Psychic Lucky Belcamino, the Bigfoot Guys, alien contactee Eric Mitchell, demonologist James Anito, the Creep Geeks Podcast, and many more. We'll have 25 plus vendors, lectures on all paranormal topics, a psychic gallery reading, and a paranormal panel. Tickets are on sale now, and if you purchase before September 1st, you will be entered to win a ghost hunting kit and Carolina Paracon t-shirt. Find us on Facebook at Carolina Paracon. We hope to see you there.
And we're back. Okay, so this next story we found it to be pretty interesting because it does have some striking similarities from what we can see to something that's happened in the past, like in the 50s.
Oh.
Yeah. All right, so here we go. Ready?
Yeah.
Goes like this. So some Santa Fe County hunters describe a close encounter at Pot Mountain. Now, Pot's not what you think it is, okay?
Yeah.
We're not talking about like the pot.
In fact, the mountain is actually Cerro de la Ola.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so there's some bow hunters in Santa Fe County, and these guys go out and they go elk hunting, and they use bows. That's why they're called bow hunters, right? And over the Labor Day weekend, in the rugged terrain of the in the northwest of Taos, as in Taos, New Mexico, they encountered instead something so strange they don't know what to call it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, still dressed in camouflage gear after days in the wilderness near Cerro de Ola, also known as Pot Mountain, the Santa Fe County bow hunters described a close encounter with what they said appeared to be otherworldly beings and a giant tent-like white structure that vanished in seconds.
Yeah.
We're a couple of guys that don't believe in much, said Brinkley, 41 of Surios, who called himself a family guy who works in construction and on movie sets. But we believe now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these guys have been going to Pot Mountain, or he's been going to Pot Mountain for about 15 years. He says he's never seen anything like it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And his buddy Lucero, that was his first time hunting in that area, and they're both long-time co-workers. And so they set up a couple days to go out and scout for elk. And they went up there earlier, and then they came back and they set up their hunting trip, and they went out to go on opening day. This is elk hunting, right?
Mm-hmm.
To go elk hunting up in this area. And so they found their spot, and they sort of set up an area where they were along some trees where one could see the other so they could kind of do some hunting. I'm not really a hunter. I don't really know how all this stuff works, right? But But after about 3 hours and no elk, Brinkley became restless. Now, we should say our experience with elk are that they're rather plentiful. They are everywhere,
In New
and
Mexico.
they're big.
Yeah.
We had one that was bigger than a Honda CRV, just kind of standing there looking at us. And we had one that was really big, put its head in the window.
Of our camper van.
Dodge Ram van 3500, big old truck. Anyway,
Yeah.
so these things are usually everywhere. But so after about 3 hours and no elk, Brinkley became restless, and it was about 9:30 in the morning.
Which is
So
weird because he's the more experienced hunter and he's already restless.
Well, it's 3 hours. I'd be
Yeah.
restless too.
Yeah.
Because, if you're sitting there for 3 hours opening day, nobody's been hunting these elk
They
all
should
year
be
long.
out.
They should be moving around. So he says, I take off walking, creeping around the woods. He's looking for elk. He reached the top of the mountain. There's a caldera, which is like the collapsed bowl of a volcano, right?
Yeah.
As he walked to the edge, he saw two figures a short distance away, and he thought they were hunters. Would make sense, right?
Yeah.
But they were too tall, and their heads were too big.
And he says they were
Yeah.
standing side
I was just
by
thinking
side.
I've heard that in the past.
Yeah.
You're too tall, and your head's too big.
Stop. Brinkley says they were standing side by side, staring right at me. He walked towards them across the brushy field, a distance he estimated to be about 35 yards. As a bow hunter, he said, he's adept at measuring distance because it's critical to hitting a target.
Yeah, so he figured he would talk to him, right? And he walked around a bush, and they were gone.
They were gone, just gone, he says.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the figures were concealed below the waist by brush.
Yeah, and he just, and the shape that would be like their heads, it looked like they had huge hoods on, he said. It looked like two ribbons coming off either side to a point at the top and the bottom. The right side was black, the left side was white and a little shiny. Torsos were kind of black. I couldn't see too many of the details. It definitely looked like clothes. Now, in the middle of the oval of the hood was just gray. Later, he would draw what he could remember of the figures in a leather-bound sketchbook he carries with him. And he would draw what he and Lucero both saw the next day.
Yeah, so he headed back to the camp, right?
Yeah.
To tell Lucero what he's seen.
Yeah.
And Brinkley's like, I couldn't take it anymore. And then Lucero didn't know what to believe.
Yeah.
So,
On Labor Day.
excuse me.
Yeah. On Labor Day, the pair headed out early in the morning to hunt again. They hiked all around the area. No elk. They gave up finally and returned to their Jeep around 2:30 p.m. So that's all morning. They get up early.
Yeah.
All the way to 2:30, no elk. We couldn't figure out why there was no elk, Brinkley said. They decided to drive around the mountain to see if there were other hunters scaring off the elk or people riding off-road vehicles, which happens. Sometimes other hunting parties will actually run the elk a different direction, or the ATVs, they are pretty...
They just scare him off.
Yeah, they
'cause
scare the
he's loud.
wildlife. Yeah, but as they drove, they noticed there were no signs of wildlife at all, which we've heard in other high strangeness stories.
Yeah,
You know?
when the wildlife is quiet and fog comes in, you're in for a paranormal time.
Oh, and if it's just quiet or absent,
Yeah.
you're in for some high strangeness. So, yeah. Now, after about 10 minutes of driving, they said they saw a strange structure about a quarter-mile away that appeared to be a movie base camp or a film set for an alien ship scene. It's this big tent structure, like a circus tent, 50, 60 feet tall, Brinkley said. Coming off the left of it was this long building, almost like what you would build for an archery lane for target practice. It was a third the height, but really long, maybe a couple 100 feet. They drove down a hill and lost sight of the structure for about 5 seconds, Brinkley said. When we topped the hill, it was gone, just gone. There was no dust, there was nothing, Lucero added. They drove around the area until dark, searching for the structure. So, I just knew it was real, Brinkley said. It was huge and white, and then it was just gone. Now, when the two men reached a place with cell phone service, they called a few friends and told them what they had seen. They even thought about calling the Air Force. One of their friends gave them the number for Peter Davenport, a longtime executive director of the National UFO Reporting Center in Washington State. Davenport confirmed that the men had called him with their story. It was a dramatic story, he said. If it is true, it's profoundly unsettling.
Yeah, this guy gets like 35,000 calls a year.
Yeah. And, with that amount of calls...
Well, I mean, not a year, I'm sorry.
Well,
350,000 phone calls over 25 years, this guy Davenport.
that's still that's close to there.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so he thinks he's had enough experience, with these phone calls to know which ones are credible.
Yeah.
And he said that the Pot Mountain story was one of them.
And
They weren't drinking
yeah,
or using drugs.
Brinkley and Lucero, they both swear to that.
They weren't doing the pot on Pot Mountain.
Yeah.
So, these guys, Brinkley's like, people probably think we're insane. And he said he didn't believe in UFOs before last week, but he says, I sure do now. And Lucero still isn't sure about UFO and aliens. He knows he's never seen anything that big just disappear.
Yeah.
So,
And the one thing I did want to mention is Brinkley, who, he's in construction and he's worked movie sets, usually construction for movie sets before. He noticed the similarity, or, at first he thought it may have been like a filming tent or a studio, something like that, movie base camp. But our friend of the podcast, Marley, happy birthday, Marley, she actually did some additional groundwork and research. She checked, and there was no filming in that location on that date. So,
dun, dun, dun.
yeah, because that's the thing. A lot of people don't realize how big the filming industry is in New Mexico.
Yeah, it's
You
a
can
thing.
actually call like this phone number to find out if there is filming in an area. They may not tell you what the film is. Like a good example would be Avengers, but they will tell you, no, you should not go on there. In that area.
Don't call the cops because
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah, because Longmire was filmed and was actually kept secret for a while.
Yeah.
But they'll tell you, yeah, don't go to that area, or there's filming in this area. So we had a friend do that research. There wasn't anything sci-fi. There wasn't any filming right there.
Yeah, and she basically put the story on our CreepGeeks Facebook page.
Yeah.
And we were actually at CryptidCon, so we couldn't really take a look at it. So the thing about this is if you look at the sketch, I know you can't see it because, it looks an awful lot like if you stood back and squinted at it from, 120 whatever feet.
Yeah.
Looks an awful lot like the Flatwoods monster.
Yeah, and the sketch is actually an additional article because this is getting some coverage. This other article includes the sketch of what Brinkley saw, as well as a map of the area and a sketch of the building.
Yeah.
And
to me, it looks like the Flatwood monsters. It's Flatwood monsters. So instead of having a red face, it's a gray face.
Mm-hmm.
It still has the the sort of almost spade-shaped head, right, with the two tubes and stuff coming off the sides of it. Because when I looked at the Flatwoods monster, I never looked at it as being just like some robot thing floating around,
Or an alien.
Yeah, or an alien. To me, it looked like, or it had the feeling that, whatever is in there is inside this self-contained environmental suit, kind of floating around doing its thing, and especially the way it sort of flew. It had like a little light under, like it was, it had like some kind of propulsion system underneath it, and one of the byproduct was like some stink.
Yeah.
Nasty smelling stuff, and make people nauseous.
Probably drive wildlife away.
Yeah. Little spindly arms, that kind of thing. And so I always thought of it as being almost like a diving bell, except you can, kind of float along with it. Or if you're a fan of Doctor Who, kind of like a Dalek.
At the bottom.
Yeah, kind of floating around. Yeah. And so when I read that, I'm like, man, this thing reminds me of the Flatwoods monster. It has the same sort of description, kind of a weird, the head is really what does it for me. And then I thought about it. If you had a building like this or some kind of structure like this, and you're in these environmental suits, it's obvious that the environment's not good for you.
Yeah.
The atmosphere, whatever it winds up being. So if you had a huge building, you would want some area for decontamination. So why not have a long tunnel where you could go through it, and by the time you go from one end to the other, you're decontaminated. You're not bringing any environmental remnants back into your atmosphere, your environment, your safe environment.
And the Southwest is full of dust and the plague. So, I mean.
Yeah. Hantavirus, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So if these two things are Flatwood-style monsters and they need to go back and get to safety or whatever and use your decontamination tube, if you will. So what? And it's okay. So if you've got that, and if you look at the Flatwood monster being around since the 50s, or it occurred in the 50s, what if that's them? And what if the building didn't actually just disappear? It just sort of became camouflaged.
You mean like, and you brought this up earlier, like Star Trek?
Yeah, and I can't think of the Star Trek movie because I just can't. But they're on a primitive planet, and there's an observatory. They're observing the primitive people, right?
Yeah.
And they have suits that they can wear, and you can't see. They're like mirrored suits or something like that. And then Data has a problem, and his just head pops out, and people are freaking out, right?
Yeah.
And then the entire thing goes down, and everybody can see this huge observatory on a hill overlooking the village, right? What if it's like that? What if these things have been here since the 50s, right?
Yeah.
Because there's some correlation. Can't really go and say exactly when, but I think it was like from 52 to 54, there were sightings, UFO sightings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fly over Washington, basically over the Capitol. And what if these things are it? Because we're going to talk about Flatwoods Monster in great and agonizing detail at a later date, where we go more into detail and kind of lay the story out there. But what if these are related to that? What if these things, whatever they are, right, showed up? Maybe they were there to meet the government. Maybe they didn't go so well, because I kind of thought about that. You have these UFOs that fly over the Capitol, man. It's like, what if they were invited, but got the directions wrong or the instructions? So, the government's like, hey, don't fly over the Capitol, man. We want you to kind of fly out towards the desert where nobody can see you. And they got it all wrong. We're like, oh, you want us to fly over the Capitol on our way out to the desert so everybody can see us, right? All right, so what if something like that occurred? I mean, who knows, right?
Yeah.
And these things have been there for a long time. They've been observing us or whatever, or they're living here on this planet, if that's even a possibility, because for whatever reason they can't live on their other planet, whatever.
Yeah.
And they're just staying hidden. Because that entire area in New Mexico is kind of creepy, man. There's lots of things. I mean, you're about 2 hours and 40 minutes away from Dulce.
Oh. And then there is Tres Piedras.
Yeah.
Which is I think it's been featured in Missing 411 at least twice.
Whoa.
And as of today, there's at least 2 missing persons and an Amber Alert right now because people disappear in Tres
Piedras,
Piedras,
however you say that.
Yes, and then
we've been gone long enough from Mexico to not know how to pronounce things.
I know, right? I'm so
couldn't pronounce them
right
while
now.
we were there, but anyway.
But this particular pop mountain is in the middle of a triangle of weird places: Tres Piedras, Uti Mountain, and then Cuesta. Cuesta, New Mexico is also...
Is it Cuesta or Cuamado?
No, Cuamato's down south.
Okay.
Cuesta is just this very weird place. We actually drove through there and we got creeped out. Like, we wouldn't even buy stuff from the convenience store.
Well, we were looking for a place to camp, and there was lightning striking everywhere, and it was just not a good scene.
Yeah, and then, but Ute Mountain has traditional folklore relating to aliens visiting, as well as unusual storms that bring about stuff in the native mythology.
Yeah.
So that triangle of weirdness right there, and this pop mountain is dead center in the middle of it. And then you couple it with Dulce and Taos, which we all know is a weird place.
Yeah.
So,
and you get the Taos hum.
Yeah, which disappeared.
And you know what I think it is, and what I've always thought it was, is that, building the underground tunnels, like we're supposed to have a underground rail system, basically connects coast to coast, and, it's like magnetic and all sorts of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And I think personally what that is the resonant hum comes off of this huge boring machine, nuclear-powered boring machine that rotates, as it chews through the earth and eventually creates a hum. That's kind of what I think it is because, we've talked to people whose family members have helped build this secret tunnel system. It's like a secret, but it's not really a secret. When you say, I think Dulce is connected to Colorado, or Dulce is connected to Sandia Labs, or Dulce is connected to, pick a military base out there, right there, Kirkland. And they're like, my uncle helped build that,
Yeah.
So anyway, the entire area, and it wouldn't be, and if you look at the map and you can see where the sighting or the event that these two fellows encountered, if you drive around the mountain, it's like 2 hours and 36 minutes, right?
Yeah.
If you're going from one place to the other, like straight as the crow flies, it's not that far.
No.
So, I don't know. That whole area is just kind of strange. Yeah. But the description and the sketch that this guy drew, it's a rudimentary sketch, could very well be something that is reminiscent of the Flatwoods monster.
Wow. I'm looking at the map again, and I'm just like, ooh. Only because it's just so weird.
Yeah.
Oh, Eagle's Nest is out there too, and so is Angel Fire.
Yeah, so there's a lot of generally weird area, and it wouldn't surprise me at all. But I just thought it was kind of a strange thing. And when I read it, I'm like, wow, that reminds me of Flatwoods. So in the future, we're going to talk about Flatwoods in great and agonizing detail. It's hard to talk about it now because we don't really want to talk about it. Like, basically. I'm just saying. Because it's been documented. It's from the 50s. This is a recent thing, and I'd be kind of curious as to see what happens before. But what I really wished is if they would show, because when they show the picture of his sketchbook, right?
Yeah.
One side shows the sketch of the head and the torso before it gets hidden by a bush. But on the opposite page, he has notes where it says like two beings on top. You can't read the whole thing.
Yeah.
Standing side by side, about 35 yards, hard to whatever, odd apparel.
Metallic.
Yeah. Sleeves, metallic, tall. You know, I'd like to see that, like what he actually wrote, but kind of a strange thing.
I'd love to, I would love to see if we could get some photos or even, hey, if anybody knows these guys, like if we know anybody.
That's the thing, because they're in the comments, because in the comment article thread area of this online, what is this?
News article.
It's House News.
Yeah.
All right. He's in there and he says some things.
Oh, he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, it's a crazy story, right? And he talks to people who he's like, I know it sounds nuts. And then people started sharing some of their stories. People make fun of Pot Mountain, of course.
Oh my gosh. This other dude's making references to Roe Mesa and then another guy, Ciso Grove case in California.
And Josh is like, he would love to hear some more stories. And then people are telling him to read a book by Carl Higdon's book, and so he's in there. And people were like, why didn't you use your cell phone? You could have took pictures. And people brought up, and he actually sort of confirms it. We're hunting.
Yeah.
So the cell phones are usually either turned off or you don't have service out there anyway. So, you'd leave it in the truck or it wouldn't be on because you're going to save your battery. Because a lot of people don't realize, when you don't have service and you're in the middle of the desert, right, you turn your phone off because it continually seeks and searches for the network, which dumps your battery.
Yeah.
So if you don't have cell phone service and you're going to be out there for a couple, 3 hours, you would just turn it off to save battery. We did it all the time. So we'd get, in the middle of nowhere.
Oh my gosh.
And you'd see the constant searching and you're like, okay, well, my battery's going to be dead before, and so you just turn the phone off. And you're hunting. So you're not worried about, being on the phone.
The other report that's in this article is actually not that far away.
No, it's not.
And it's next to Pecos National Historic Park. So we have, so Pot Mountain, kind of close to an ancient Native American mountain that's revered, Ute. And now you have Pecos, this Roe Mesa area.
So I think it's time to welcome our interdimensional brothers.
Yeah, but the whole cell phone thing, I wish people knew a little bit more before they started tearing apart certain things.
Well,
yeah. The whole hunter, there's a low power mode you can use, but even still, the phone will try to use the network or try to access the network every X amount of period of time. It is honestly...
and the same people that try to tear them up
for
not using the phone are the same people that say, oh, they're making it up to get 5 minutes of fame. Or also the same people that say, possible fallen angels impersonating aliens.
Oh, gosh.
They too try to abduct humans and do experiments on them.
Okay.
And then the great reveal will be coming soon as we get closer to the official story of the alien invasion. The media has been psyop working our acceptance of the reptilian/demon watchers. Yeah, so, it runs the gamut of all this stuff.
Yeah. But we put both articles in the show notes. The second one is the one with the sketches. The one, the first link actually has a couple of people I think we've heard of. So yeah. So definitely check that out. Let us know what you think in the show notes. If you have a different theory, show comments. If you have a different theory, email us, contact@creepgeeks.com. But look at that sketch. Looks like Flatwoods to me. So
Yep.
yeah.
Kind of strange.
So Storm Area 51. It's been in the news, and it's been up and down whether or not it was going to happen. Breaking news is Storm Area 51 creator fears humanitarian disaster and pulls out of his own music festival.
Yeah, I need to cover my own ass because I don't want another Fire Fest.
But, and that's actually a quote from him, I don't want Fire Festival 2.0.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, this whole thing has been plagued with different problems. From an article on airforcetimes.com basically saying, we're prepared for this, to the Little Alien Inn hotel owner in Rachel, Nevada, having problems getting the permit for the event. Everything is going wrong with this, and the creator originally planned on turning it into an alien-style festival. That didn't work, so now he's pulling it and actually taking it to Las Vegas, September 19th, and he's inviting all the original bands who are going to play out there in Area 51 to come to Las Vegas.
Yeah.
But there was just way too many problems, and they realized just how bad of an idea it was because, do you really want 1 million people to storm a tiny town that doesn't even have a gas station or a store?
Well, no.
No. So he posted the notice on the Alien Stock website earlier this week to announce he was pulling the plug on the whole festival. He did point fingers at permit holder Connie West and the festival's alleged lack of infrastructure, poor planning, risk management, and blatant disregard for the safety of the expected 10,000 plus alien stock attendees.
Yeah, it sounds like maybe somebody may have called and said, hey, not for nothing, but I'm a lawyer.
Yeah.
And you're setting yourself up,
Yeah. So we foresee a possible humanitarian disaster in the works, and we can't participate in any capacity at this point. We just don't want anyone to get injured or stuck in the middle of the desert.
This has a high potential of getting ugly.
Yeah. So
Yeah. So basically what it boils down to is he's trying to do an Area 51 celebration party at the downtown Las Vegas Event Center on September 19th.
Yeah.
Featuring EDM artists originally on the bill for alien stock. So he's moved it, trying to do it right. But we'll see.
Despite any memes or other events you see on Facebook, just do a little bit more research. Some people are still planning on going out there. We don't recommend it. Do your research. Stay safe.
If you need a reason not to go out there, it's going to be very hot. How about that?
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty interesting.
So we actually went to CryptidCon.
Yes, it was in Kentucky.
Kentucky.
Lexington, Kentucky. Yeah, so we went to CryptidCon in Lexington, Kentucky.
Yeah.
And we brought our dog.
Yes.
Paranormal Pepper.
We were
Paranormal Pupper.
Yeah, we were trying to do the midnight showing of Small Town Monsters'
That did not happen at all.
Momo the Missouri Monster, but because we wanted to bring Pepper, we decided instead we would show up as early as we could Saturday.
Okay, so from our current undisclosed location to Santa Fe, Kentucky, it is about 2 hours and 36 minutes. 5 hours and 36 minutes or so.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So anyway, we decided to get up super early.
Basically, we
and
decided
drive.
not to go to bed. Yeah.
Yeah. In hindsight, that was a mistake on my part. So anyway, you know how it is. You're like, oh, it's 11 o'clock. Let's lay down. And you don't really lay down until like midnight. And then you're like, okay, cool. And then you just can't sleep. So we decided to just get up and roll out. And we did.
And we did.
And we still didn't get there on time because it's supposed to open up at 10 or whatever. And we didn't get there until like 10:20.
I'm glad we didn't.
10:30. Yeah, because there was no line.
Yeah, when we got there.
At first I was like, wow, this is going to suck because there's nobody in line.
But then
they were all inside already.
Yeah.
That was the thing. They were, because the event was well organized. That was the deal. They were pretty organized.
Yeah. Because they had multiple tables open
stuff.
to check in.
Yeah.
We had the Legendary Pass or something.
Yeah, VIP Legendary Pass or whatever.
So,
which came with some cool swag. Like I didn't realize when we got these tickets in February that it would have the cool swag like line jump pass where you just hand it to a dude and they cut you in front of everybody. We didn't use that.
Yeah. Some people did, and I was like, oh.
Well, that's what it's for, and for every presentation, there was 2 rows in the front where if you were, legend pass holder, you could just sit in the front row and there was, you were able to have time carved out to be able to take pictures and with presenters and stuff like that. So
Yeah, and
we didn't
cool
use
t-shirts.
got a cool T-shirt.
Yeah.
We didn't utilize that because we had Pepper, because you went and talked to the lady and said, "Hey, this is a dog-friendly hotel. Can we have pets?" And she was like, "Whatever."
No, she said, I don't know. Let me go check.
Oh, and then we just brought the dog in anyway.
No, I do want to say thank you because she did check. And she said, she came back a few minutes later and said, I don't see why not.
Yeah.
And that was great because one of the highlights of CryptidCon was Little Pepper in her CreepGeeks Podcast t-shirt.
Yeah. Everybody was like giving this dog all the attention. Like everybody.
Like famous people.
Yeah, so we went in, and it's funny because we're not going to talk about it in for hours or anything, but you got a chance to go talk to Dr. Jeff. You going to say his last name? Dr.
Jeff Meldrum.
Meldrum, yes.
Who also loves dogs. His
Yeah,
wife.
so y'all spent about 20 minutes talking about dogs.
Instead of Bigfoot.
Yeah, you guys didn't say anything about Bigfoot. So it's 20 minutes talking about his wife and rescue animals.
Yeah. Which was
rescue
cool.
Shelties? Were they Shelties?
Yes, Shelties.
Yes.
His wife rescues Shelties, and she has a big heart, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So
Meldrum and you talked about Shelties
yes,
and
but
dogs.
check our Instagram because our Instagram has a lot of photos of everything that went down at CryptidCon. A lot more happened,
Yeah.
but many of the photos are from Pepper's perspective. So
Who else did she meet to hang around with?
Seth Breedlove.
Yep, she got to meet and hang around with Seth Breedlove.
Yes.
That was very nice. If you don't know who Seth is, you're missing the boat. He does great paranormal movies.
It's Small Town Monsters.
Yeah, through Small Town Monsters. You can find them on Amazon. You can find them on Vimeo. You can find them. He's got a ton of them. Terror in the Skies.
She she even got a pat on the head from Nick Groff, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she met Nick Groff. Nick Groff was nice. Gave her a little scratch.
Yep. Mostly because we were sitting in front of the Nox Mente booth.
Well, it wasn't all just
Yeah,
Nox
well, it was
Mente.
Nox Mente, Cruising with Steak,
Yep.
and where are all my notes? Everybody was at that booth.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
really
it was like we met a Spooky Bruce was at that booth.
Yes.
And for a while there, it was like a little crowd of podcasters, my dog, and Nick Groff for a moment there, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, it was kind of a strange thing.
Yeah.
A lot of cool cats, man. I like hanging around the
Yeah.
cool cats.
We also
It's like,
met Hillbilly Horror Stories.
Yep.
And
So
then-
she got to meet them and hang out.
Yeah.
And so they scratched her for a while. That was actually pretty cool.
Yep.
She also met the Mountain Monster guys.
She kept trying. She thought they had snacks.
Yeah. Which is pretty funny because she was like running underneath. She went underneath their table. I mean, she was on a leash, but,
Yeah.
and they scratched her for a while. She did go hang out and sit next to Cliff Barackman and Bobo
Yes.
and just kind of sit there and look at them for a minute. And they were having a conversation with one of the Kentucky,
Northern Kentucky Bigfoot Research Group.
yeah,
Yes.
they were all having a little bit of a conversation where we were standing next to some footprint cast, one of the biggest I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I thought it was pretty funny because Bobo gave her a look. It's like, what's this dog doing? And
She
she's just
sat
sitting
there in the circle like
Just
she was a
listening to
part of
him.
the meeting or whatever. You know?
Yeah, so they thought that was pretty. So she had a pretty good time.
Oh, and also Midnight in Kentucky podcast.
Yep.
Met them. International Paranormal Museum and Research Center in Somerset, Kentucky.
Yeah. Those pretty cool cats. We're going to be talking to them later.
Yeah.
There is a possibility that we will be doing the podcast from there. Dun, dun, dun.
Spoilers.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah,
But
I
those
forgot
guys are really cool. They shared a bunch of really interesting stories, not just about their museum, but about some of the strangeness that happens in Somerset, Kentucky.
Yeah, evidently there's
So-
a lot. So we're kind of excited to
Yeah.
reach out and talk to those
Yeah.
fine peoples.
We did sit in on a couple of talks or at least listen to them for part of the time because there was just so much to see there. I got to hear about 10 minutes of David Paulides' talk, Missing 411.
Yeah, we talked to him for a minute.
Yeah, and it was funny because I just happened to hear part of the stuff about Mesa Verde. So, yeah.
Yes, and we talked to, I can't think of her name. She was from Paranormal Highway. She was very nice, and she
yeah.
liked Pepper too.
Honestly,
dog.
guys, when it came time to write the podcast, I got to doing the 18th hyperlink, and I kind of just,
Yeah.
I wanted to link and shout out to everybody we met because everybody was so sweet. So,
Yes.
yeah. And they liked my dog.
Yeah, so she met more people than we did and had a better relationship.
Yes.
They all liked her. They were all scratching her. And so she was very tired on the way back. So it was a good time. We met some friends and got to hang out and talk a little bit.
And hopefully also met some people that we plan to work with in the future.
Yep.
I'm actually really excited about Northern Kentucky Bigfoot Research Group.
Yep.
They hold Bigfoot outings where they don't go and hunt Bigfoot. It's more of like a wait and call scenario.
Yeah, which I like.
And it's open to everybody. So that I hope to hear more from them soon.
Yes.
And we
in
did.
Oxmanday.
Yeah, the fact that we met a whole table of really awesome podcasters.
Yeah, cruising with steak.
Yes, with some really cute magnets and stickers.
Yeah.
Was cool. We ended up talking a lot to those guys.
Yeah, we're going to crash their live stream one day. They won't know we're coming, but it's going to be fun. So
now, we weren't able to do the midnight release of Momo, the Missouri Monster.
Right.
And it's actually going to have another showing this Friday, I believe in Canton, Ohio.
Yeah.
And then it'll be released next week.
Yeah, and just so you know, since Momo is coming out September 20th, and we had an opportunity to sit down with Mr. Seth Breedslove and talk for, 20, 30 minutes or so?
Yeah, about 20, 30 minutes.
We're going to have a special interview
Yes.
on the podcast.
And
So
yeah, I really like his work, and it was nice to meet him because it's like, nice to meet somebody who is pretty down to earth in his approach to the phenomena.
Yeah.
And
so, Small Town Monsters, man, if you have a chance and you're sitting there and you're looking for something to watch on Amazon, pick one. There's a bunch, man. So,
yeah.
I mean, we've pretty much seen them all so far. So,
see, I'm deep down, I'm a journalism nerd, so I kind of like his approach. So I'm like, yeah, I would tell the story this way, or, I would like to tell a story this way, Yeah. So,
we met a ton of really nice people overall. It was good.
Yeah.
It was definitely worth going.
And he signed a poster for Pepper.
Yeah. That is true. Yes, indeed. So Pepper made some friends. We made some friends. We have some people we want to talk and get a hold of and have them on the podcast because they seem like just generally everybody there was really cool.
And see, that was the thing. Everybody was really cool, really nice, approachable too.
Yes.
And we kind of walked into CryptidCon not knowing what to expect. We've only been going to conventions for about a year now, well, less than a year now.
Yeah.
And we honestly don't know what we're walking into sometimes. This was a very nice, warm, welcoming environment.
Yeah.
And it felt more comfortable to listen to and exchange ideas with people. And that's why we're already trying to plan attending, the next
and it was fun
one.
trading swag.
Yeah.
One podcast trading swag with another. It's like, hey, man, you want a sticker? Yeah. And it was a good time.
Yeah.
So we definitely plan on coming back and going back to CryptidCon. And we're looking forward to other, conventions for the remainder of the year. So, we'll be going to Marion for the Western North Carolina Bigfoot Festival. Mm-hmm. And we got Outer Realm Festival.
Wow.
Which is shortly thereafter. We have a bunch of them. So, what do we got here?
Well, we have Outer Realm Festival, and that's going to be September 21st. So,
yes.
If you're upset that you can't storm Area 51, why don't you go down to the Outer Realm Festival in Tennessee? It's safer, and it's going to be a lot more fun.
Yes.
So, honestly, you'll be able to meet the podcast, and I believe they have a ton of vendors at this one as well. They're going to have presenters and talks, and it's going to be a fun thing. It's hosted by East Valley Paranormal Society. That's going to be Riverfront Park, Harriman.
Yes.
Tennessee. And don't forget, coming up in October, we do have Carolina Paracon.
Yeah, Carolina Paracon is coming up.
Yes, it is. We have so much stuff coming up soon.
It's going to be fun.
I know, but it's a lot of events. I'm excited though. So
yes.
If you guys have any other events going on the rest of this year, shoot us an email or even drop us a link on Facebook. Because as excited and nervous as I am for the next few weeks, I still want to go to more of these events.
Yep.
You can drop us a link at contact@creepgeeks.com, or like I said, on any of our social media fronts. If you need to send us a message or feedback, use that email address. Check our social media links in the show notes for this podcast episode, and be sure to like our Facebook page or join our Facebook group, CreepGeeks Facebook.
Yes.
Anything else that I'm missing?
Nope, that's about it. Make sure you tune in next time, because we have a nice interview with Mr. Seth Breedslove.
Yes.
And other stuff to talk about.
And
So.
we'll possibly talk about his latest movie.
Dunk, dunk, dunk. So, very nice. Anyway, you've been listening to the Creep Geeks podcast. Thank you very much for hanging around and tuning in. And we hope to see you next time. So, anyway, see you later. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, it's amazing the subtle games that you I play, and you don't even know I exist. You have got me on your hit list, and you're just bad. Girl, you are sexual and bad, and now you got this on your conscience. Because now I'm unresponsive. Oh, I call your mother, tell her you love her. That's my bad boy. Run through the fire, I'll walk the wire.
Yeah.